BTB listeners, thank you so much for checking out today's episode. Listen, if this episode inspires you, do me a favor, take 5 seconds to shoot me a like and subscribe to the podcast. There are several more exciting guests that are in the pipeline, and I just can't thank you enough for your continued support, and let's keep paying the mission forward.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby.
Welcome to the BTB Project, designed to empower listeners to identify their why and to live their best lives no matter the circumstances. My name is Coleman Gerhardt, a former athlete and motivational coach. I've had the opportunity to inspire thousands through my story and help accomplish what they are built to be. You'll be encouraged by each and every episode, and let's get into it.
Yeah, when I blow up, I'ma soar high like Peter Pan. In real life, be living out my dreams. If I'm waking up, it's in a foreign land.
In today's episode of BTB Influencers, I want to uncover the life of a tremendous mentor of mine. I have really thought about real podcast influencers and motivational speakers and people I consistently listen to on almost a daily basis. Up there on that list is a gentleman by the name of Ed Mylett. Ed is a tremendous entrepreneurial spirit, being able to help folks like myself with personal development, and is renowned for his concept, do one more, be one more, putting in the reps, not just in each and every day of your life, doing so with the mindset of our limitations are often created by thinking once we get to a particular ceiling of success in our life that we can no longer go any further than that, that there's only a particular place that we can reach and it's over. What resonates with me the most with Ed is the similarity him and I have when it comes to our personal upbringing. He is also a child of an alcoholic, and it was his father that was the one spent most of his days drinking. And the big difference was when my mom was in the same situation, she went to rehab, tried to kick the addiction, and 4 rehabs later, she was unable to do that and eventually passed away. But with Ed, his father actually ignited this incredible journey because despite his alcoholism, he actually became sober and became an advocate for AA and helping others with their addiction. And that's what really was a trailblazer in Ed's life, was despite the hurt and some of the shame that Ed had of his father's addiction, his father was able to help not only himself through the program, through a higher power, through putting in the work on a daily basis, he was able to impact other addicts, other people that were in AA, other people trying to get sober. And he became a coach and a mentor for a lot of people that went on this sobriety journey, and it really just impacted Ed's life. And as I think through that and his father's impact, these are all teachings that I hear from Ed on a daily basis. And I highly recommend that you guys download the podcast, The Ed Mylett Show. It's one of the most popular podcasts in the world, and listen to how he communicates, listen to the posture and the warm feeling that he gives. And he actually credits that based off of primarily the relationship with his father. And I can relate to this myself, was in those dark times when my mom was drunk or his dad was drunk, trying to identify those times when they'd walk into the door to understand if they were sober or were drunk, and learning how to read people, learning how to read loved ones actually honed in this skill for Ed that allowed him to empathize deeply with people because he was able to uncover all of the nuances that his dad had. And he's able to pay that forward to the people that he interviews, that he coaches, that he impacts today. And there was a lot of lessons learned with that journey and his father's impact. And that came along with integrity and learning how to work hard. Ed's dad was a tremendously hard worker, and measuring success is not just by material wealth, but it's by understanding that all of the things that he had growing up, he was grateful for because he saw how hard his parents were working to provide. And that kind of led to this beacon of perspective and understanding that he takes into his businesses, into his success, that has allowed him to have quite an empire of not only success, but to continue to be an entrepreneurial spirit. And that's the next piece of Ed's life that I want to touch on is that journey and the path of his early ventures to his breakthrough moments. And I remember hearing from him a time where he used to work at a pizza shop and he would just go around and bust tables. And all he was learning in that moment was how to show up, how to be the best employee that he could be, cleaning the table to the best of his ability, and being reliable and being someone that can learn some of those important moments of perspective and work ethic that led him into incredible generational success down the road. But there always came some time with adversity, and that adversity was multiple failed businesses, things that didn't work out the way that he wanted to, and still trying to be a positive light in his life. And he's very similar to me, married, children. His children are getting older now and in college, but being able to hear some of those stories from him, work life balance while being present as a husband, while being present for his kids. I always pay attention to folks like that because being in a situation where you have a lot of heartbeats relying on you, it can be daunting. And I know there's people listening that might be in a situation where you feel like your back's against the wall and things are really challenging and you don't know how to take the next step or make the next move. And that's where Ed's messages have just incredibly encouraged me. I've had days where I wake up and here I am in my sweaty hat. I just got done with one of my jogs and that's where I get fed. That's where I put on the podcast and I listen. Ed has 2 episodes that come out each week, and one is a short form version and one's a long form version with an interview. And I just love listening to his interviews because he brings on special guests that are very like-minded to him or that challenge him, whether it's in business, nutrition, fitness, mental coaches, musicians, and it's such a wide array of audience. You almost could go through his entire library and search for any topic or any influencer that you can think of. And there's probably at some point in some way that he's either talked about it or talked with someone that you would recognize. And what's so cool on those episodes is not only are they uncovering an informational topic that can help you in that moment, but he's empowering others at the same time. And that's where that shift that he's had in his personal success, he's been more on mission recently after building the businesses and building the empire that he has. He's more about helping you and I. Having that servant spirit, having that ability to put yourself second is where I couldn't be more thankful for that. And a lot of entrepreneurs like myself, I would never have the courage to be able to start a podcast without listening to those empowering moments that he gives me. And all of the credit he gives to his relationship with God, his relationship with Jesus. And that is a fundamental aspect of my life. Ed just does a really good job of, listen, I have my beliefs. There's a lot of people that have their own beliefs that are listening today, but there's no judgment or condemnation. But go find that ability to be present, to be aware, to have alignment, to go do extraordinary things and be empowered. And part of that empowerment also leads to that informational piece, the wisdom piece, and his timeless advice, being able to embrace discomfort, knowing that concept of do one more, be one more, go one more. If you're a salesperson, go pick up the phone one more time, go make one more meeting, go send one more email. When you're in the gym, do one more rep. When you're running, do one more minute. When you start stacking those days of doing one more, think about what that does to your life 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. And I've seen that in my own life. But most importantly, with Ed, he recently, within the last year, lost his father. And he talked about the moment of spending those last days, last few minutes with his dad, and the perspective that he took away from that, knowing how much the disease had hurt Ed growing up, but knowing the perspective of what he has now by learning from it, getting better from it, knowing all of the impact that his dad had on other people's lives and addiction, and being inspired by that. The BTB project would not exist if I didn't have that very same moment in my life with my mom. And it's when she was clinically brain dead. She had came out of her fourth rehab and she fell into a medical episode that stopped her heart. They were able to revive her, but she was clinically brain dead. And I spent that last moment with her in the hospital. And I remember sitting on her bedside, and she wasn't going to be able to respond, and she was taking her last breaths. And I remember that moment where I put my head on her forehead, I put my hand on her cheek, and I just told her I loved her. And I recited a Bible verse, Joshua 1:9, be strong and courageous, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And in that moment, my mom opened her eyes and started crying, and she mumbled the words, go help people. Ed's journey with his father, that has ignited his passion for business, for feeding into others, to create the podcast that he has, motivational speaking, to empower others. If that man's voice isn't going through my head on a more often than not basis, none of this would exist. That moment of being ignited by my mom to go help people is what has allowed the BTB project to be what it is today. So I challenge you as a listener, go check out Ed's podcast, Ed Mylett Show. I guarantee it will change your life. I'll give you a podcast hack. I listen to mine at 1.5 to 1.8 speed, a little bit quicker, just to get through them and get as much information as I can. So go check out one of his episodes. See if it impacts your life. Listen, the BTB project is on mission. And it's been so fun for me to share some of these influencers that have allowed me to be who I am today and to provide the content that I'm providing in each and every one of these influencer episodes. If this episode impacted you, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the BTB project. Send the episode to a friend or colleague and let them know why the episode was impactful to you. Let's keep paying the mission forward. And I am forever grateful for Ed Mylett and the impact he's had in my life. And until next time, take care.
You're told I'll be your heart, temptation.